All right, Sunday night was a big night in New York, but it was a tough one for Los Angeles as the Knicks, they knocked off the Lakers 112-100. New York, they're second in the East, while LA, they're battling for a playoff spot, currently sixth in the West. So, to help us break down where this Laker team stands right now, how the Luka Doncic trade is looking 1 year later, can't believe it's been a year already, and what LeBron James' future could hold, and also what both teams, Knicks and Lakers, might do at the trade deadline. I'm joined by Los Angeles Lakers beat reporter for the California Post. So welcome to the team, my guy, Khobi Price. What's up, Khobi? How you doing, bro?
I'm good. How you feeling?
I'm great, man. Good to have you here. Love the work you've always been doing.
Appreciate you.
Covering the Lakers, and now you're on the Post team, just on the left coast, man.
Yeah, just from one coast to the other, right?
Yeah.
Coast to coast with it. Yeah. We're having a good time.
So it's been good. Once I knew you were coming to New York, I was like, we got to link up. We got to get you in here. I saw you at the game last night, so it was good to meet you there. But I got to ask you this, because you got to watch that up close, right? So you saw that 112-100 loss by the Lakers at the Garden, and there was a lot of buzz. You saw it. A lot of media was there. The fans were there. What did it reveal to you that game about where the Lakers are right now as they try to stay in this playoff race?
I don't know about so much reveal, but it just solidified thoughts that I had entering into the night, where they're still struggling to solidify themselves as a proper or true contender for an NBA championship. They're a good team. Some nights they look like a very good team, but there are other nights where you just see on the court, like Luka can make shots, LeBron will have his moments, and the guys will piece together good sequences, good moments, but they'll struggle to put together forget 48 minutes, even 36 to 40 minutes in a night, or in a game. So for the Lakers, again, they've had games where they put together. I mean, I'm thinking about the win against the Wizards in Washington, D.C. Granted, it's the Wizards, right? Like we all know, let's not get it twisted. There is a difference in caliber. I know, the West Coast people like to talk bad about the Eastern Conference, but there's a difference in caliber between the Knicks and the Wizards.
That's fair.
But they put it together in that game. They've had other games this season where they put it together. Yes, they're missing Austin Reeves, but they're still lacking that extra oomph to really solidify themselves in the same conversation as Oklahoma City Thunder, Denver Nuggets, or even the San Antonio Spurs, that level of team in the West.
So you feel like they're in that next tier.
Yeah.
So I watch a good amount of Laker games, right, on League Pass. One of the things I see is the defense, perimeter defense is just not. Would you say that's the biggest issue with the team right now?
It's among many. I mean, I think the biggest issue, so the perimeter defense, I actually thought last night we saw that with the way they were able to contain Jalen Brunson in certain moments. Like now they're playing with Austin Reeves out, and they've been doing this more recently. They're playing bigger. Like you saw throughout the game, they start a pretty big lineup right now with Austin Reeves out with, Marcus Smart, Jake LaRavia, LeBron, Luka, LeBron, and DeAndre, those are all big and stocky players. And then you have Jay Vanderbilt come off the bench, Rui Hachimura, Jackson Hayes, Gabe Vincent's the smallest player in the rotation right now. And he's feisty, but outside of him, you're talking about guys all 6'3", 6'4", and taller, and just stocky and bulky. Their problem is that so often it's they're choosing between offense and defense. And there's been a better balance of that lately between, if you have a guy who's more offensive oriented out there, well, maybe your defense will slip. Have more defensive guys out there, the offense will slip, the three-point shooting will slip. So finding that balance has been, to me, one of the biggest struggles all season long. And once you get Austin Reeves back, that can help, reorient the roster in terms of role orientation, figuring out lineup configurations. I think the lineup configuration has been better really over the past couple of weeks. But yeah, their perimeter defense just overall, their foot speed is a struggle, their overall athleticism is a struggle, and sometimes, just to be honest, their energy will just be up and down. I mean, you saw it last night. Once if shots don't fall, and I think this is the case for most teams.
A lot of teams, right.
A lot of teams, but once the shots stop to not fall, it gets really sluggish, I thought last night against the Knicks, they had a lot of beautiful sequences early, a lot of good passing sequences. But once the shots stopped falling or didn't fall at the same level as they did the first quarter, a lot of more no pass possessions or one pass possessions, ball got a little stickier, and then there's just no rhythm really in that second half where the Knicks took the game over.
Hey, really saw that in the third quarter when the shots stopped falling there. So I guess if we put this in sort of context, how would you assess the Lakers season so far in terms of expectations, right? Are they performing to expectations about what you thought, or do you feel like they're still, you kind of said it's been inconsistent, right? Are they still searching for that consistency? But how is that relative to what maybe you expected of this team going into the season?
Yeah, I can only speak for my own expectations, right? So I think before the season, I was expecting them to be a team that won maybe around 50 games, somewhere between realistically 48 to 52 wins. I thought that's where they're at, and they're 29 and 19 right now. I can't do the math off the top of my head, but that feels like around the pace of a high 40s, low 50s wins team, depending on, maybe they play a little bit better to close the season once they get Austin back. Yes, there have been inconsistencies. LeBron misses the first 14 games. Austin has missed 19 consecutive games, and I believe 21 of 23 games or 22 of 24 games, something along those lines. There have been inconsistencies in terms of guys available, especially toward the top of the roster and different starting lineups, what have you. But even with that, like the roster, it's funny. You look at what's happened, the actual results over the past, we're getting close to game 50. Their struggles were struggles that you could predict back in July and August, September when this roster was put together. So from that standpoint, not really surprised. To me, they're almost playing to expectations. The real surprise is they have they're 10 games above 500 despite having, I think right now, a negative point differential. Yeah. And their offense hasn't been elite in the way that you would expect it to. When you have Luka, Austin, LeBron on your team, and the defense has struggled the way you expect it to. But despite that, they're still 10 games above 500 in a way that you just typically don't see of a team that has a negative point differential on the season.
Yeah, usually a team with a negative point differential could either be very close to 500, maybe a game over, could be a couple games generally under. You could generally see that. So it's really interesting to see how they've gone with that. Yeah.
And I was going to say, I think that kind of points to, they do have right now Austin's out, but they have three guys who you can really lean on to close out games. And they do have they've had one of the better, I think still right now, the best clutch record in clutch games or games that have gone to clutch minutes in the league. So that's been their bread and butter. They can win close games. Like that's really been it for them.
I wonder how that works for them in the postseason, right? If you can get into a close game, maybe with the team, more pressure's on them, but you have guys you can trust that can get buckets for you down the stretch. So I gotta ask you this, because we're now, just up to the day as we're recording this, over a year removed from the Luka Doncic trade that shook the league, shocked me.
Yeah.
How has that move aged for the Lakers both on and off the floor? Because I don't know where you were when that trade went down.
I can tell you where I was.
Go ahead, tell me that before you answer the question. Where were you?
You don't know how to age for the Lakers. It aged me quickly. The immediate aftermath. So we were actually here, year ago to the day.
That's right. I forgot. Knicks played the Lakers. I completely forgot about that.
It was a Saturday night game at MSG. Big win for the Lakers. I think the final score was maybe like 122, 110.
They crushed them.
Crushing it. I mean, they had, LeBron had a triple-double, Max Christie big game, Austin Reeves night. Like, there was a big win for the Lakers. Like, they were starting, like Anthony Davis just went out with his injury, and Charlotte, as part of their Grammy trip, early in the trip, maybe like the first or second game. But they were starting to build momentum, had a great showing in Madison Square Garden, finished up post-game media availabilities, everybody's feeling good. They about to go back home to LA. Just wrapped up a really strong trip. I think they went like 4-1 on the Grammy trip. Then you get the notification. Transcribing. Doing the thing. We just finished up media availability.
So you were still at the Garden.
Still at the Garden.
Still at the Garden. Okay.
I think Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura were the last two Lakers to speak. They did a joint post-game media availability at MSG. So they just wrapped it up. Maybe, or let's just say 11:30, 11:40, around that time, maybe a little bit earlier. Yeah. It's still pre-midnight, but it's after 11 p.m. because it was like an 8:45 start. Yeah. So it was one of those like late for real late starts. About to transcribing, opening up my phone, about to message my editor like, hey, I just finished. About to update him on the night editor on the progress of the night, because that back in LA it's like 9 Pacific. Get the Shams notification. Keywords notification, because I'm not on Twitter. I'm in Slack. Get the notification. That's all. It's literally just in my head. It's like, am I reading this crap? I had to like read it twice. Like
that was my reaction too. Like, I thought it was wrong.
Look. It's like maybe like 5 or 6 of us still in the press room. Look to the right. Look to the left. Nobody said anything.
Nobody's reacting.
Nobody's reacted. So I'm just thinking like I feel like I'm not even scrolling through Twitter. I'm just like I still have the tweet like pulled up on my phone. Look to the right again. Look to the left, and I just as soon as I like turn my body again, I hear someone yell, "Oh, Luka got traded to the Lakers." I'm like, all right, thank you, there we go. Then you make a couple calls, get it confirmed, and it was just stayed up till, and then have to fly back the next day. So like stay up to maybe like 4:35 a.m. just working, and it just changed the complete complexion of this job and the Lakers organization and their, obviously, a year later, their future, but obviously their present as well. Present then and also their present now. But you asked how it looks now.
How's it look now, right?
I mean, the funny thing is I wrote about it in a story that got published not too long ago. I think after that win over the Knicks last year, so after the February 1st, 2025 win, I think they were 28-19. and they were 5th in the West. A year later, they lose to the Knicks, and they're 29-19, 6th in the West. So in terms of like the immediate results, hasn't changed much. They before Luka, the 2024 playoffs got bounced in the first round. The playoffs by the Denver Nuggets, 2025 playoffs, another 5-game first round knockout, this time at the hands of the Minnesota Timberwolves. So immediately, like obviously, like Luka Doncic is spectacular. Once in a generation player, he's phenomenal, and he gives the Lakers a bridge to the future. Someone you can say, Rob Pelinka said it publicly. The centerpiece of the franchise. He's 26 years old. I think turns 27 later this month at the end of February. Like he's the centerpiece. And you hope that the next 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe even more years, you can build around Luka, Austin Reeves, and just build out the roster similar, ironically enough, to how the Dallas Mavericks built their roster. Tough. Have tough, athletic. Have tough perimeter defenders around him to really, cover up for, Luka and Austin's deficiencies, even though Austin's a respectable defender in his own right. But it does feel like the Lakers, at least, are still a ways away from, completing or building out the ideal roster that complements Luka, and Austin in that equation.
I'm going to get to that with you because I definitely want to talk about what they could possibly do with the trade deadline. The Lakers, I find them fascinating. We'll get to the Knicks on that stuff, too. I want to talk to you about LeBron real quick. Mm-hmm. Because we just saw him named to another All-Star game, right? It's just crazy the amount that he's played in.
22.
It's insane. 22, right? It's
22.
insane. But, and you saw the discussion around this, particularly last night when we were at the Garden. There's a lot of talk still about his future. Mm-hmm. What's happening next? Based on what you're seeing, how does he view this stage of his career with the Lakers? Because I've been wondering if he knows its time might be up with the Lakers. Maybe it's time for both parties to end this. He might want to end his career elsewhere. And then everybody was asking me this question last night, so I'm really intrigued to hear what you think.
Yeah.
Do you think he played his last game in Madison Square Garden last night, or did he play his last game in Madison Square Garden in a Lakers uniform? Those are two different things.
Those are two different questions, so I'll answer the latter question. I do believe it's very likely to me that was his last game in Madison Square Garden as a Laker.
Yeah.
I think it's the more time that goes on and reporting, talking with people, it's becoming more challenging to see LeBron returning to the Lakers beyond this season, going into the 2026, 2027 season. It's not impossible. I wouldn't even rule it out, but it does feel like, we're getting closer to another pivot point in the relationship. And I'll say this, there have been multiple pivot points in the Lakers-LeBron relationship. And regardless of the friction, regardless of what's going on behind the scenes, they've always come back together. They may not have always been the happiest with each other, but they've always come back together. But it just, again, I just talked about Luka Doncic. The Lakers have their guy, not their next guy, their current guy. And that's the key thing about Luka. It's not just someone you're building around you're building around Luka now.
Now you got him right now.
You got him right now.
Like
this isn't 23, 22-year-old Luka. This is 26-year-old, about to be 27-year-old in his prime Luka Doncic. You have that guy right now. So for the Lakers, the priority is building around him. Again, you have Austin Reeves as well, just a player who was playing at an all-NBA level before the calf injuries. Those are two, Rob Pelinka, last summer called Luka, Austin, and LeBron the pillars of the franchise. Moving forward, I don't see why Luka and Austin would not remain the pillars. Especially when, again, Luka's a centerpiece and Austin is a pillar. But going back to LeBron, that just becomes more difficult. If you're trying to build a team that can maximize those two, it's hard to bring LeBron back, at least in the capacity he is right now. So I have a hard time seeing him return to the Lakers. What he does after the season, I'll be honest, I don't even believe he knows yet. And you asked me what this stage of his career is.
Yeah.
I think it's more so I don't think he's made a decision for his future. So I think right now he's just trying to appreciate. And he spoke about this. I believe it was in Washington or sometime on this road trip.
Because in Cleveland we saw him get very emotional.
Cleveland, yeah.
When he had the tribute video, we saw him very emotional there.
Cleveland, It was Cleveland, not Washington. It was in Cleveland where he spoke about just trying to appreciate the moments.
Yep.
Because he doesn't know he doesn't know what's going to come beyond the season. He may not. He may retire after this season. He may not want the retirement. He said it publicly. I know not everybody believes it. He may not want the retirement tour just because of the attention it could bring, or what if he shows up to an arena and he's not able to, we saw him miss the first 14 games of this season
with sciatica.
He also acknowledged that he dealt with sciatica. I believe it was 2 years ago. during the offseason, but it didn't make force him to miss time. But who's to say that, it doesn't flare up again, he's not able to start a season, or he's just not able to, we've seen sometimes on these farewell tours, guys aren't able to play in every city for the last time, and, that could carry, maybe disappointment or whatever it may be. So he may not truly, and it may not be the easiest thing to believe, but he may not want it just because of the, the pressure that may come with it, or just honestly, like he may just want to do it. He's had the attention on him for a quarter of a century, really, going back to high school. He may just be okay with bowing out. But regardless of that, with him, it's just, I don't think he knows yet. But because he doesn't know, it right now is about appreciating the moments. So at least there can be a piece at the end of this season of, I did it, I appreciate it, I took it all in. Then you can make a decision rather than get to that moment and be like, did I take the time to, did I do what I wanted to do? You do it in the moment, and then when you get to the, maybe not the finish line, but you get to the end of this season, then you can reflect on what the future will hold.
I think that's fair. I think that when I say we, I mean us in media, sports journalists, even fans. I don't know if we sometimes appreciate the fact that it really takes time to make those decisions. I mean, listen, it even goes to us and what we do in our careers. We love what we do in covering sports, and at some point we will not do this anymore, right? And at some point that will be a hard thing to do. And I think about that sometimes. We have very limited time to do the things that we love.
Well, and especially athletes. I mean, you also got to think about it. LeBron's, again, he's been an athlete, you can essentially say, his entire life, and he's been professional basketball player. He's been in the NBA for 23 seasons, and he's been in the spotlight as a basketball player, again, for a quarter of a century, basically, almost 25 years. I mean, his first national TV high school game was in 2002. It's 2026. Like, he's been doing this, like, this has been, his adult life, and even going back to his teenage years. Like, this is not all he knows as a human being, but he doesn't know what being an adult is like without having the NBA. So there's also an element of what does it feel like. Even outside LeBron, that is a thing that you have to factor in when talking about, like, for us, we can probably do this a little bit longer than most athletes.
Right.
At least
it's not as limited as that.
It's not as limited.
But we do. But to your point, I don't mean to cut you off. Yeah. What you were saying there is like the future being unknown.
Yeah.
I mean, the future is always unknown, but the future being unknown after you've done something in particular at a high level for a long time. There's a little, maybe some fear in there, which is healthy too. Fear can be there.
There's a human element. There's a human element to all of this. So it's not, sometimes it can be, if you're sitting in our chairs and you're a fan at home, you can just look like, why doesn't he just retire? Or why doesn't he just make the decision? These aren't easy decisions to make. Agreed. Because the other thing is, once you make that decision, you can't go back.
Yeah, nobody's trying to see that. Nobody's trying to see you unretire.
Because you either unretire, or if you, once you have it mentally that I'm done. We've seen guys, like, it's just, guys will say, like, once they're done, they're done. And some guys, they know they're done before they actually retire. Like, they'll know in the season, yeah, I'm done. But once you make that decision, it's just hard it's a switch.
And then you don't, for some fans out there, some of the, I would say even older fans that saw Michael Jordan did that, right? It's a little different circumstance, but he retired, came back, and we like to act like the Wizard stuff didn't happen. Nobody wants to see that, right? And that's the thing. That's an example, and I bring that up to just, I think you brought up a beautiful point, in that's why it's so tough, right, Khobi? That's why it's so tough to make that decision, and then nothing's perfect with it. Nothing's really perfect.
It's not an easy decision, especially when you've been doing it for so long. But it's something that he's been more open about. It seems like, this is my third season covering the team. He's become more open to talking about it publicly and just the factors that are at play when it comes to making a decision.
Yeah, and you got to respect that, and I did like that. Let me ask you about the trade deadline with the Lakers.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll get to the Knicks in a second too. As the trade deadline approaches, what have you been hearing about the Lakers, what they might do, what they might not do? Do you think they stand pat here? Do you think they try to upgrade the team? What are they more likely to do? Or is it like quietly reset and sell off some pieces, as you said, to try to get the pieces that you want around Luka and Austin Reeves? What do you think the Lakers do at the trade deadline, or maybe not do anything at all?
Well, I'm definitely not expecting a big move like last year.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
You can't handle that 2 years in a row? That might be too much?
I mean, look, let's be honest. You can see underneath my eyes right now the bags.
You got to get some sleep for Khobi. You got to get some sleep.
No, it's also like, look, you make that move for, like, there's not a true big move for them to make. Like,
right.
Just from a draft assets situation, from a player, like, they made that big move for Luka last year. Kind of, I don't want to say it fell in their lap, but it fell in their lap, right? Like, right. So let's be real about it. Like, that's how it happened. Let's be honest about it. But for this trade deadline, like, maybe a small move, like, there's not, I mean, we're just in conversation with people, nobody's expecting a big move. Maybe like a small tweak, but nothing significant. I don't expect them to acquire a significant difference maker. Maybe a small move around the margins, or maybe they trade a player to open up a roster spot and convert one of their two-way guys to a full-time contract, and then, they bring up one of the guys from the G League onto a two-way. Like, it's maybe some small stuff around the margins, but nothing significant. I'm not expecting the rotation to change significantly. Outside of when Austin Reeves comes back, the rotation will change naturally, but maybe like something marginal that can, that may shake things up on the smallest levels, but I'm not expecting like a big move or even like a trade for a fifth starter or a starting level player. I think if they do anything, and, I think it's 50-50-ish, whether they do stand pat versus actually make a small move. Like, I think that's more so the lane that they're looking at, rather than forget just a seismic trade, a true game-changing trade. Like, I don't know. I'm just trying to find an example. I mean, obviously we saw the trade between Cleveland, Sacramento, and Chicago, sending DeAndre Hunter to Sacramento, Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis go to Cleveland. Like, that was, I don't expect that level of move for the Lakers this year.
Even that's a big move. But Laker fans, and I know this because one of my best friends is a big Laker fan. Shout out to you, Morris Austin. Big Laker fan. They always are expecting the big move, and that's why even when the Luka Doncic move happened last year, you're like, oh, Lakers, they got their guy again. This happens again. They always seem to get their guy, but they got it here. But how much? Let me just ask you this as a follow-up. How much of them maybe making a marginal move here at the deadline or not has to do with the fact that this a lot depends on what happens to LeBron. They should have a lot of cap space this summer, and they may be eyeing more of the summer of 2026 at how they reshape their roster.
That's definitely a factor. I mean, even, again, the times when we spoke with Rob Pelinka since they traded for Luka, optionality has been a word.
I got to tell you something. I'm a little jealous here because you guys in LA get to actually speak to your general manager.
Oh, yeah.
We don't get that here in
New
New York.
You don't get that here in New York, no. Let it be known. Let it be known.
So that must be nice. It must be nice.
It's good to hear. It's very good to hear from the lead basketball decision maker, on what goes into the basketball decisions. So shout out to Rob Pelinka for making himself available, and shout out to the Lakers for making their lead basketball decision.
But my bad, I cut you off there.
No, it's all good. Let it be known. Let it be known. It's an important factor in our job, in our industry. But no, like the optionality, because it's not just LeBron. Like, it's LeBron is essentially a on an expiring contract. You also have Rui Hachimura expiring contract, Gabe Vincent expiring contract, Maxi Kleber expiring contract. You've got, guys with player options in DeAndre Ayton, Marcus Smart. I believe I'm missing one more. Or Austin Reeves has a player option for next season as well. But the thought right now is that the Lakers are going to sign him to a big deal after this year. Like, there's an optionality. There are ways in which the Lakers can improve their roster through free agency. So for the Lakers, I remember that there was some chatter around before he got traded to the Kings. There's some chatter about DeAndre Hunter, being in the Lakers. The Lakers eyeing him, and that was true. But the trade itself that being reported was not something that the Lakers, because the Lakers aren't looking to take on a whole lot of future money. Like, DeAndre Hunter has I think 23 or 24 million for next season. Like, the Lakers are trying to keep their optionality open by not taking on a significant deal beyond the season, unless it's someone who they believe is going to be, who fits into their the bigger picture alongside Luka and alongside Austin beyond this season. But they're trying to keep their options open, because they know that they don't have the perfect roster, the ideal roster around Luka right now. So that is the I guess we want to call it the North Star that they're looking at as they continue to build out their roster, going into the trade deadline on Thursday, but even going into the summer. All right, so we got a couple more questions here for Khobi Price, our California Post Lakers beat reporter. But I got to ask you about the Knicks, because you're here in New York for a couple of days. Absolutely.
The Lakers will play the Brooklyn Nets after playing the Knicks.
Yep.
Barclays Center, very different from Madison Square Garden. Even as a Brooklyn Knight, I have to say that. What did you make of seeing these Knicks up close in the victory? And I know you've probably watched even more than that, but what do you think about the Knicks? Do you think that they are a true championship contender? Because that's a big question here in New York, is that, are they good or not? They had a little slide in the beginning of January. They've now won 6 in a row, so I know it looks really good right now. Yeah. But what do you think about this Knicks team and where they are?
I mean, right now, so preseason, my preseason prediction, because sometimes you get asked to do some and you fill it out. My preseason prediction was Thunder Knicks NBA Finals, and the Thunder were going to beat the Knicks. That was my prediction preseason. The Knicks have had this kind of up and down in a way that not up and down, more ups than down, but just kind of. I thought they're going to be better than they have been. The Pistons being as good as they have been has surprised me. I'll be honest. But I was impressed with what I saw last night. I mean, I wrote about it too. Like, even with it seemed like Jalen Brunson, being bothered by the Lakers' length and their early physicality they provided defensively, especially from their bigger players, Vanderbilt, Jared Vanderbilt, Marcus Smart. Like, even with that being the case, I thought in the second half he missed some shots that he would normally make. But I thought his pass shot decision making, especially in the second half, was at a high level, and that was impressive. I mean, the thing that stands out about the Knicks, just period, is the depth. I mean, to have a guy like Mitchell Robinson come off the bench and just create, widen your margins with his offensive rebounding, that's huge. To have a guy like Josh Hart play as hard as he does, but then also he can get in there, knock a couple threes, score, like in the manner that he does. It's not something you expect every night, but he can do it when you need it on a night when Jalen Brunson's not feeling it as a scorer. Then OG, like, they have a solid roster. They have a very good roster. It may not be the best fitting roster to have a point, to have, two, I'll just say it, two guys who aren't proficient defensively.
Yeah, their best offensive players are their weakest defensive players.
And that can be troublesome, but they've built a good ecosystem around, Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns. And that's what you want in a roster when, you cover up or you complement your stars' deficiencies. And I think they've done a good job at that. You would think that, after, firing Top Thibodeau and then bringing in Mike Brown, some of it, I don't know how I'm trying to say this, there would be a little bit more, things would be a little bit more
urgent.
Yeah,
urgent?
there we go.
I feel that's the word you
know
for
urgent.
Okay.
There would be a little bit more urgency, but it feels like they're starting to maybe turn a corner now. That was a big win against the Lakers. Like, look, that was their first win over the Lakers at MSG since 2021. I think November 21.
Correct.
Last few years, I've covered two of them, and even before then. Lakers come to town, they put on a show. They come to Madison Square Garden, regardless of what happened before the game, regardless of what went on the season, they come to MSG, LeBron, crew, they put on a show. So that was a big win for the Knicks to pull that out. But in terms of championship contending, I mean, to me, they're still, I know they're not standings-wise, but to me, they're still the top team in the East to me in terms of playoff viability. I would take them right now over the Pistons. I would take them over the Celtics. But in terms of contending for a championship, I mean, I still believe OKC's better than them. I would take Denver over them. And to me, those are like the two teams I would expect to come out. Like, really OKC and then another look at Denver. So I don't think they're better than those two teams. But in terms of contending out the East, they're still my favorite to come out the East and make the NBA Finals.
So I agree with you. Despite the Knicks having a 2-9 slide in January, they've bounced back nicely from that. After a 4-game losing streak, they've won 6 in a row. The thing for me is the defenses look better, and this will kind of lean into where we go next. I think I'm with you. I still think they're the best team in the East. I still think they can come out. That's no disrespect to Detroit, who I think is up and coming. I think they're very physical. And we'll see. The Knicks play them on Friday night. We'll see. The Knicks got bodied by them the last time they saw them, 30-point beatdown. So the Knicks are going to have to show me something personally on Friday when they play them again. So we'll see. And again, we'll see how the team looks after the trade deadline, which is where we're going to go now.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of talk about what the Knicks should or shouldn't do at the deadline. And there's been Giannis rumors. So let me ask you this, as a basketball lover and observer, what kind of move do you think the Knicks need to make if they're going to try to fortify their roster by 3 p.m. on Thursday? What kind of move do you think the Knicks need to do?
A non-Giannis move?
Unless you think it's a Giannis move. It might be for you.
I mean, so the funny thing about Giannis is that I don't even know if there's been an official update. The 46 weeks diagnosis he gave himself after the...
No. He said that was all a self-diagnosis.
Yeah, that was self-diagnosis.
There's no official one.
So if you trade for Giannis, like, is he going to just come back like immediately? Like, I don't know.
Right.
But like, so the thing about the Knicks is that, if you can make the Giannis trade, like, I think that's like, there should not be... I understand why there would be hesitation because you built out this very good roster. That's, I know, you haven't made it to the finals, but you made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, second round. Like, you've had the most success. The Knicks have had the most success as a team since in a quarter century with this roster, more or less. So I can understand the hesitation, but Giannis is a player that puts you over the top, pretty much regardless of who you send out, right? So if you can make the Giannis trade, even with him being out, and even with the, the East is what it is, I think you make that move. But in a non-Giannis move, I mean, their roster is pretty, it's pretty set. I mean, I when I look at this team, it feels like they have, to me, I was reading about it, like they brought back the no middle concept defensively.
Yeah.
Right. Like that was a big talking point coming out of last night's game, and that's been a significant change. Like after a lot of middle to start the season, now they're trying to push ball handlers baseline, which is funny because that's a Tom Thibodeau principle, right?
And they're going back to it. And that's the way most
teams,
most teams play defense. And when you're playing basketball, even to the youth level, that's the thing. You want to force your man baseline. You want to use the baseline as an extra man.
Yeah.
The sideline, this is normally what you try to do. But they've gotten back to it, and the defenses look better. But
so I was going to say, I don't know. Like, I just look at this roster like, I don't know if they really need a significant move. Like, that's just me, like, as someone who doesn't watch them every day or cover them, like, just on the outside. I think they just need to solidify what they have. Like, be more entrenched and tweak what you already have rather than look outside. Like, maybe you can make a marginal, like, if you feel like, but the team I saw last night, and again, maybe I'm just, going off of last night, the few games I'm able to catch, but, like, at least in the East, they look for real. And knowing their situation in terms of the cap flex, like, their cap situation, like, I think they're pretty, like, their roster feels pretty solidified. Unless you are willing to look at Karl Anthony Towns and you didn't give him extension, and you're saying, this is, if we're going to do it, and if you saw what happened maybe last year's playoffs and you're just not sure if he's the big man to put with Jalen Brunson, but again, we talked about it. You have your two best players are both, they both lack defensively, and you have concerns about that. If you're willing to pull the trigger on that, then maybe that's a different discussion. But I think that would be part of the Giannis trade because you don't just trade Cat for you don't trade Cat for
a couple of role players.
Yeah, high level role players. Yeah. Like you have to trade if you're going to make that move. It has to be another star level player, and honestly, it has to be another star big man. But who else is out there? Who's a star big man that you would trade for outside of theoretically Giannis? Like
there really isn't a lot of options. The problem for the Knicks, Khobi, is they don't have a lot of assets here.
Yeah.
And it's more likely they will have those assets if they traded for the Giannis at the draft. However, the focus here in New York is they're trying to win a championship now.
You're trying to compete for a title right now. Right. You're talking about the draft, that's a June problem. That's a June problem.
That's way down the road.
We talk about February through, I guess finals is in June soon, but that's a late June problem. We're talking about an early to mid June aspirations for them. But no, I agree with you. I mean, again, like that's the tough part. Like if you want to trade Cat, if you don't believe he's the guy to pay, like who fits with this roster, okay. You have to find it. You can't just trade him for. You can't. I don't know if you could trade him for a wing, unless you want to start Mitchell Robinson. But you're going to put him in the spotlight where he has to play. Depend on him 25, 26, 28 minutes a night.
But they're kind of keeping him just around that now, and he's not playing back-to-backs.
Yeah.
And so there's already that trust, and he's very injury-prone.
Yeah.
But although you mentioned earlier how fantastic of a player he is with the offensive rebounding and whatnot, but now you're putting him in more of a stressful situation, to your point.
Yeah, exactly. And it's something that I've learned quite a bit is keep in mind. Role orientation matters so much in the NBA.
Facts.
In terms of, sometimes you think a guy can scale up. Like after he plays super well in his role, you can scale him up to like playing more minutes or maybe fit him in a different role. And this doesn't work out because they've almost mastered the role that they have. Or if they play more minutes, they're not able to bring the same level of energy and take it from 20 minutes to 28 minutes. It just they're not able to expand it in that way. So I think the Knicks, going into this deadline may not be what Knicks fans want to hear, but I think they should stand pat. Unless you want to pull the Cat trigger, but to me, you only pull the Cat trigger if you're getting Giannis. That to me, that's just how I look at it.
Knicks fans are going to want to hear that they get Giannis. They're also going to want to hear that they make a move. I think that it's likely it's kind of like the Lakers stuff. This isn't going to be sexy where people want to hear. I think it's more likely they make a very marginal move.
Yeah.
Maybe they upgrade it with a backup point guard or point of attack defender that can help off the bench, or another big wing of four because they're getting nothing out of Gershon Yabusele and Jordan Clarkson. We didn't see both of them play last night, right? So those were your two free agent signings in the offseason. If you could flip guys who aren't playing, and this is what our Stephen Bondi had said, who covers the team for us here at the Post, he was like, hey, if you can flip those into a guy that could play, that could be a win. Maybe you have to attach some second-round picks to that.
Yeah.
I don't see that as a bad move. I think that's the more likely move that goes down by Thursday.
Yeah.
I think Giannis is – I don't think Giannis is going anywhere on Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, the more time that passes, it feels like I would say it's more likely something happens with him, just because. Okay, if you don't.
Unless I don't mean to cut you off. Unless he forces his way, Khobi, like he says, I want to go here, right? Then I think that changes the game.
I don't even know if he has to force his way though. Like I think it's just known within the organization that
he wants out.
Yeah, he wants out. Like, and I think they also know that he's not going to be the type to go up to them and be like, I'm done. Like it's going to be more so like everyone knows it's time. Everyone knows it's time to move on. It's more so a matter of is it going to be before Thursday, or by Thursday, or this summer, right? Like that's really what it's looking like. I think it's less likely. I think it's more likely he still remains in Milwaukee beyond Thursday.
I agree.
But I think the closer we get to it, I think we're going to see more desperation, like including it could be from the Knicks, it could be from a variety of teams who are. The other thing I was thinking about is I like the point you made about the Knicks of maybe just turn guys who aren't playing to a guy who can play, who can be your 8th man, your 9th man, whatever it may be, back in rotation player. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know this, but like if you could also make a move to set up for the summer, like if you're thinking you could get Giannis this summer, maybe you set up you make a small marginal move that can clear up space this summer, and then like I don't know what that move would be off the top of my head, but that like if you truly believe you're going to go after, if you're all in on going after Giannis, maybe you make a move like that just to set up for the summer. It may not be help you win the title now, but it could help set up for better offseason.
The Knicks are going to need some flexibility.
Yeah.
I will say if they are going to get a chance to get another pick and then get another asset, so they'll need some more flexibility. I guess last thing before we get out of here, I want to bring it back to Lakers. Where do you think, like when you look at big picture with this Laker team, and we look at this team now, Luka Doncic is going to be the head of the snake. He's the franchise player and all of that. How do you feel about this team's future? I know we still can't see what they do in the summer, but how do you feel that the future is set up for this Lakers team with Luka Doncic as the star? And do you see more championships coming in LA with him as the star if they're able to put the right pieces around him?
If they're able to put the right pieces together, they should at least contend for an NBA championship or just be a contending team on a regular basis. Because the reality is, the reality is we haven't had a repeat champion since the Golden State Warriors in 2018. I think, if the Thunder don't win this year, I think it'll be 8 consecutive seasons with a different champion. So if you're the Lakers, you could look at that as, a point of optimism of if it's your year, it's your year. The other thing about it's not just there are no repeat champions. You're also just getting different finals matchups like almost every year.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking about it recently. I think the only team to make multiple finals since the Warriors' last championship were the Boston Celtics. They lost in 22 to the Warriors and won in 24. Miami Heat in the bubble, they lost in 20, and then they lost to Denver Nuggets in 23.
Yep. Outside
of that, you're seeing different teams year in and year out make the finals. And if you're the Lakers, again, you just feel like one of those years, it could be your year, especially if you have Luka and Austin leading the way, or just Luka leading the way. Like you feel like that could be it, but it's not a guarantee. Like even if you have Luka at his best and the right pieces around him, like the optimism is what you saw in Dallas. But look, the Thunder are looking like they're going to be a force to deal with. The Spurs, in some people's eyes,
Wemby's coming.
Wemby's coming.
Or here.
Or he's here. Or the Spurs are just ahead of schedule. Like they're doing better than what you think. And let's not forget about the last. Let's not forget about the
Pacers. Oh, I thought he was going to be the Pacers.
Oh, no, I was going to say the Denver Nuggets.
Oh, the Nuggets.
I'm just talking about the West.
Oh, the West. You're just talking in the West.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the West.
Let's not disrespect the Nuggets and Jokic.
And those are just like 3. And like Jokic, he's what, 30, 31, I want to say?
Yeah.
He's in his early 30s, but those are teams that the Lakers got to contend against like immediately right now. And then, again, with the Thunder and Spurs, like that's your future. Like right now, I would take the Thunder and Spurs future over the Lakers right now. So they can be in the conversation year in and year out, but even with the perfect roster around Luka, I mean, I know that, if you're a Lakers fan, you'll say, Luka led the Mavericks to a win over the Thunder in the playoffs 2 years ago. That's 2 years ago. This Thunder team's significant. Like they've got a little bit more to them than they did in that 2024 playoff run. So yes, they should contend for the playoffs, but I don't think championships are guaranteed, even with a player as special as Luka.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting because I still can't believe the Lakers have Luka. That's my thing. I still can't believe that trade went down and they have Luka. It's going to be very interesting. But
I had a little bit of PTSD walking through MSG yesterday.
Yeah, I wonder how many people at MSG were worried about the fact, will another trade go down here a year later? Same teams playing, could this happen again? It didn't happen.
Yeah.
Although, I haven't checked my phone here in recent to make sure there's no trades. No trades. I looked at my phone. No trades here for the Knicks and the Lakers, so it'll be good. Everybody, that is the great Khobi Price. Check him out with the California Post, man. Welcome to the Post family and the team. I'm glad to have you out here. You in town. We got to chop it up. I know most people watch the show. They talked a lot of bit of Lakers, but had to talk some Lakers
that's
with my guy. We talked some Lakers. We talked some Knicks. We had some fun.
Yeah.
Next time I'm out in LA, I gotta stop through and kick it with y'all.
No, for sure, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
More than welcome. Yo. You know, if you come out to LA, you know, reach out.
Hey man, the weather there is better than it is here right now.
I can't wait to go back home.
It is too cold.
I can't wait.
It is too cold. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for coming, man. We'll definitely do this again.
For sure.
Khobi Price, check him out, and thank you for watching and joining us on another edition of New York Got Game.
And thanks for watching New York Got Game. Boom shakalaka.